So, ladies and gentlemen, or lady and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to 703 OMIS, E-Business Technology and Management. This is our first session, and I'll be taking you through a number of things I will be doing this particular semester. I hope everybody can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. Okay, so the course, as it stands as E-Business and Technology and Management. And I think some of you are expecting that we'll be talking about e-business, trying to learn about what is e-business. No, that one you do it in your master's and your undergrad programs. My role here is to facilitate you to a session to enable you to select relevant research areas or conduct research in the field of e-business or digital business. So my key role is to direct you on finding what are the current research issues that of necessity for a PhD student or a doctoral student who is attempting to do a PhD in information systems. So if e-business was an area you're going to look into, what are some of the current things or new questions or new perspectives that you may need to try to consider? So that's what I'll try to do in this session. I hope it's very clear to all of you. So you don't expect me to be explaining the definition of e-business, the types of e-business. I may mention some of them, but I may not go into detail trying to tell you what goes into an e-business setup and what are the key actors in e-business. No, I'm not going to do that. You are supposed to have known that by now. I hope you can understand me.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Azu, I hope you can understand me. Hello? Please, all of you should check whether you can talk, because I'm teaching PhD students. I need to hear all of you talking. Hello,
right.
Mr. Azu.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, I want to hear from Mr. Azu. I can't hear him.
Yes, please.
No, Doctor, I've heard you. I'm looking for Joachim Azu. I could tell we can't hear you. Are you working by your phone or you are using a computer? Should I remove you and you come back when you have got a better machine? So now you're coming back in a different mode. Please take this course seriously. I see some of you are thinking that I'm having a session where if you don't have a laptop, don't connect. Make sure you're always connecting with a laptop because we are doing a lot of things here. Azu, rename your name. Hello, Mr. Azu.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I was using my laptop, but it seems that the volume is not working for one reason or the other. So I'm trying to connect to my tablet. So please excuse me. Forgive me. Sorry.
Then I think you should open your laptop to look at the screen and then open your tablet for
yes, I'll do that
for the discussions.
Yes.
But
Yes,
you see,
yes.
as you are an IT person, all of you, if you come and tell me these things, I blame you. You are not. This is not the first lecture you are having.
No, that's why I'm surprised. I'm very sorry. It's just happened. I don't know why.
Okay. So which of your account can we take serious? Are you going to rename your name at Azu?
I'm going to rename both so that I can speak on one.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go back to thank you very much. Gilbert, I've not heard your voice.
Good morning, Prof.
Okay, so Gilbert, who are you? Tell us a little bit about us. 1 minute, who you are, where you work, and your interest area.
Thank you, Prof. My name is Gilbert Mombaza Pelem Eteme. I'm currently doing a PhD in information systems. As my professional background, I've been an engineer with Huawei Technologies for a number of years. During which time I did my master's in telecom management at GTUC. After that, I
Okay.
went back to.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. What's your interest area?
Okay. Currently, I am looking at data science, artificial
Okay.
intelligence, and then blockchain. These are broad areas of interest that I think I will narrow down to a
Okay.
specific thing as time goes on.
Okay.
When we begin this course, I believe
We have begun
as
the course already, so don't worry. Okay.
yes.
Azu, are you
Yes.
ready to talk?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk.
Okay, talk.
My name is Akute Azu. I'm a systems analyst at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. My interest is in big data analytics. So that's about it.
Okay. Your master's is in what?
I have a master's in information systems. I also have
Okay.
another one in transportation engineering.
Okay. Thank you. Docas.
My name is Dr. Boateng. I'm currently a lecturer at University of Professional Studies. My research area is into health informatics. Thank you.
Masters.
MPhil, Management Information Systems.
Emmanuel Jabba.
Good morning, Prof. I am currently an assistant lecturer at GIMPA. I have an MSc and an MPhil in ICT. I am hoping to research, for my PhD, I'm hoping to research in business analytics as a tool in digital business strategies.
Raphael Amponsa.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
Currently, I'm an assistant lecturer at GIMPA. My master's was in MPhil in MIS, Management Information Systems. My area of research is in e-business and also programming learning. Yeah.
Okay. Obed.
Yes. Good morning, Prof. So I'm currently a teaching assistant at the OMIS department. My MPhil is in Management Information Systems. I've had an interest in the sharing economy, but going forward, I aim to also look at artificial intelligence, specifically in the area of ethics, and also into smart cities and smart technologies.
Solomon Odey Apia. Solomon. Solomon.
Please, I think he said he had a challenge with his audio.
You guys, are you not ready for my class? If you come next time, we'll challenge with your audio. Don't sign up. Don't come at all. Check all these things before you come, because I'm spending time doing these things. How can I get you to participate if you cannot?
Hello, Prof. Please, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Sorry about that. My master's was in MPhil MIS, and currently I'm an assistant lecturer at GIMPA. My research areas are mobile computing, and then ICT for social inclusion, exclusion, and any other field that I may develop interest in. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much. I think the last person is Paul Badasu. Who are you? Paul. Okay, if Paul is not available, I'm going ahead to Paul. Next time, if you are not are getting computing problems and stuff, don't come to the class. Set up your equipment to work before you come to the class. Because how can we connect with you and interact and then hear from you? How can I be able to assess you are understanding what I'm teaching? This is PhD. We talk in the class, we interact in the class. So please, I hope you can all understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Thank you very much. Because this one you have to ask me questions, and that's the only way you can learn. I'm not here to just talk. I'm here to interact with you and also learn from you. So if I'm here, please, I beg you, pay attention and participate. So the sessions that we have today, we have got session 1, in which I'll be talking about concept, theory, and method, and then I'll go to session 2, data, business, and e-business and ISO. I don't know whether we can go to session 2 because we have taken my time already. Then contemporary issues in data business, writing an e-business case study, writing an e-business conference paper. Then we'll have a guest presentation, digital platform on chartered domains, data analysis and e-business research, and data analysis and business research and group presentations. Um, hmm, okay, so that is what it is. I for the max, focus on 100%. I will not advise you to focus on those 50-50. At the end of the day, your final mark is what matters. But there's a lot of work to be done. For those of you who have not taught you research before, you have to go and be watching my videos about research so you can understand what when I teach and where I'll be coming from. The latest videos can be found on this address, and then the older videos can be found here, but they are all good. But the very latest ones, especially for the PhD students and stuff, are here, all on YouTube. So we have an individual term paper, and you have a individual examination paper in which you write a paper, 5,000 words. The term paper is next week. It's a very simple one that I want to test what you have learned today. And then the examination paper is on 1st March. In fact, 10 days to 1st March, because the objective is to submit, as some of you may have seen that our department in the first year, you are supposed to at least submit a paper to one of the IS conferences. So I have to, and usually I'm the one who trains the faculty, the students for it. So I have to train you within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You have got only up to March 1st as the deadline for submission. So we don't have much time. That's why I want you to sit up. So there'll be sessions, there may be some days that we may have to meet extra time on different days. This is our permanent time now, the Friday class at up to 11 o'clock, 11:20. But there will be other times that we may add on the same, on either Friday or Thursday, just to be able to make sure that we are able to catch up and do this what they are supposed to do. Since I'll be talking about this later, I won't spend time here. Then there's a group project work, which is submission in week 4 here. But they are all tied together. In fact, the group work and the term paper are all tied together. So you get to understand as we go on. I won't take questions now, unless somebody has a question that I don't know. Any question? Okay. Please, when I'm teaching you have a question, you can actually raise your hand using any of the tools that is here, so that I can actually hear you and then address it. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Prof, you can.
Yes, we can hear you, Prof.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'll go on to today's session. Okay. Okay, so what I want to do today is to try to help you to understand the research process, especially in relation to linking the components of the three key components of what makes a good research: concept, theory, and method, so that we can be able to look at link it with e-business and have a better appreciation of how e-business research can be done in a way that can be establish novelty and in a way that can establish originality. So that's what I'll be doing in this session. I'll begin by just giving a small overview of research, what research is, and then I'll try to move from there and go into other perspectives of research. So the session is to introduce readers to purpose of or listeners to purpose of research and explain the interrelation between the research concept, which is part of a phenomenon, a theory, and a method. The learning outcomes that equip the participants in the knowledge and competence in drawing conceptual and theoretical links between a concept, stemming from a phenomenon, a theory, and a method. The premise, this knowledge establishes the premise of undertaking pure or basic research. In academia, we have got to, from academic work that you may be carrying out, and you may learn as we go on, there are two types of research that tend to matter. There's a basic research and then there is a applied research. So basic or pure research are the research that you carry out with the objective of trying to contribute to knowledge. So usually the audience of such research is other researchers. So those are the ones that are published in journals and articles. And then the applied research are the ones that you carry out with the objective of contributing to practice primarily. So like if government conducts commissions University of Ghana to do a research, or if elections is coming up and somebody conducts research to get people's views concerning who shall potentially win, all those ones are applied research. But the basic research and pure research, with the objective here is to try to contribute to knowledge and then try to publish an article out of it so that it can extend the frontiers of knowledge. So that's for the purposes of you being a PhD student, your focus is on the basic research or pure research. Is that well understood?
Yes, sir.
Is that well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
Prof.
you. Okay. So the topics to be covered in the session, please, I hope you can see the slides.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The topics to cover in the session are defining research, concept, theory and method, and test of understanding. This is only session 1, then we'll have session 2 later. So defining research. I think some of you may know what research is, but there's a book that I want you to get from the bookshop and Legon. It's Research Made Easy. You use it throughout the whole 4 years or 5 years here. And I would advise you to get one as soon as possible. There are copies there. You can also contact Charles in the department. You can also, he has copies he's also selling. It's 150 cedis. Either you buy it from the bookshop or you buy it from Charles in the department. I think by now, some of you know the department. Obed will give you Charles' phone number, especially for those who are not around, so that if in case you want it delivered to you or something like that, you can get it to you as soon as possible. So get that book. We'll be using it this semester, next semester, and throughout the journey, you will learn a lot of things from it, especially for appreciating what research is. So research is usually people define research as an investigation into a particular topic or social or business phenomena. But when you say this, it's actually simplified research to be an investigation, which is not always true. Research goes beyond an investigation. So, and it entails more. When you say research goes beyond an investigation, it means that there are certain times that you need to know that just going around to ask people questions in investigating an issue doesn't necessarily constitute a research. The reason being the fact that for academic work, research needs to be organized, systematic way of finding answers to questions. We say systematic because every research work belongs to a scientific discipline, and that scientific discipline defines procedures and principles which a researcher needs to follow in order to get reliable and accurate results which are acceptable within that discipline. So if I belong to MIS discipline, I need to understand how to carry out research in MIS. Even if I'm an MIS researcher and I belong to e-business, I need to understand what is expected of me as an e-business researcher. So every knowledge area or scientific discipline has what they consider acceptable methods, acceptable procedures and principles, which you, the researcher within who belongs to that particular fraternity, should adhere to in order to get research done and be considered reliable and accurate. It is one of these reasons why it's one of this particular factor of research that you have you see a lot of conversations on the media, or sometimes panelists arguing on a perspective of a social intervention. You put an economist on one side, they put an anthropologist on one side. The anthropologists look at the cultural issues that has to do with the society and how certain norms can be actually challenged or be reinforced to be able to establish order. While the economist is thinking about how many people are employed, the value of goods, the price of items, and inflation. So now he has quantified the data. The other person is using descriptives of trying to explain social phenomena, trying to understand social phenomena and unravel it in more of a qualitative manner. The other person is approaching it in more of a quantitative manner. So you see that there are different things that an economist will expect a researcher who is an economist should do, whilst an anthropologist, an information systems researcher, a medical scientist will also look at certain things. Some of the things may be common, but there may be specific things that if you say you are a medical scientist, you are conducting research, you are supposed to have. I hope you understand me. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
So every researcher who is carrying out research should first of all understand the discipline he belongs to. What did I say?
Every researcher undergoing research must first understand the discipline he belongs to.
Good. So what discipline do you belong to?
Information systems.
Information
Good.
system.
Information.
So when I'm carrying out information systems, you have a research, you are supposed to understand what discipline you belong to. It's very, very important. And that is why it's the first one. So that we can say that what you have done is acceptable or reliable and accurate according to what the principles and procedures that govern information systems research. The next one has to do with organize. Despite the fact that you have got certain procedures and principles, every research is organized because there's a structure or a method in doing research, and there are some generic steps that a person needs to follow. In fact, if I just get out of my car, get out of my house, and I'm looking for a car, and I'm conducting a search process, I may stand on the street, by the street, and I'll have certain things in mind. First of all, the destination I'm going to will inform what type of car or which part of the street I'll stand. Number two, I may have preferences of what type of car I want to take, depending on how much money I want, where I'm going to. Some places are there, taxis don't enter. I may want to take an Uber. Certain places, maybe I'm going for an interview. I don't want to sweat, so I would like to take an Uber. So certain things about the researcher informs the choices that he makes throughout the process. But however, irrespective of all this, the researcher has a focus on where he's going, and then he starts thinking about how to get there. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yes,
Good.
sir.
So, irrespective of the fact that research needs to be systematic and adhere to principles which belong to a discipline, there are certain research generic steps that are common to all research. All researchers are searching, so they are always looking for answers to a particular question. So we say that for every research, there are some questions that you need to answer. Research is about finding answers. Every research seeks to answer a question or a number of questions. And sometimes the answer may even be no, but it's still an answer. Or maybe it could even be even inconclusive. It's still an answer. But the question is what directs the research. The question that the researcher seeks to answer is the question that gives promise or gives some purpose to the search process. Otherwise, when you want to search and you don't know, have a question in mind, what are you searching for? So the question you have in mind actually directs the research. That's why we say that the centrality of every research is the question you are asking. Because if there's no question, how do we begin the research process? And the researcher or the research gets its focus or relevance or importance depending on the questions that we are asking. Depending on the questions that are asking. Without a question, the researcher has no focus, drive, or purpose. So every time you're carrying out research, there is a search process. That search process is governed by a question or is directed by a question. That question then becomes what is central to the research, because the reason why we are even conducting the search process is because of what? The questions that we have. So we always say that the research questions are central to research, or the centrality of every research is the questions that's being asked. So whenever you are doing a research and you have the same, you have a topic. Let's say you have bushfire as your topic, and I also have bushfire as my topic. Even though we both have bushfire, what will differentiate your research from my research is going to be the questions you are asking. Somebody may be asking questions about what are the causes of bushfire. Another person may look at the policy measures to address bushfire. All of them are two different types of research, or sometimes can be a comprehensive research with two different parts. But each of them has its own set of questions that have to be asked. So I'm just trying to emphasize here that the questions you ask in research is what is central to the search process. Whenever you are starting, you start searching, you have to ask yourself, what question do you have in mind? What question do you have in mind? Okay. Now, it also means that the questions that you have in mind are asking a question about, are questioning something. What are they questioning? They are usually questioning a phenomenon which is under study. So if there's a phenomenon under study, for example, decline in employee productivity or decline in productivity in the workplace. So that can be the phenomenon you are trying to study. Within that phenomenon, you are asking certain questions. I hope you understand me. So every time you're asking questions, ask yourself, what phenomenon am I asking the questions about? What phenomenon am I asking the questions about? Now, when you ask questions, the phenomenon is directly or indirectly linked to a concept. And the concept are components that are in the phenomenon that come together to be able to make the phenomenon itself have its relevance. For example, when I say decline in employee productivity, there are about 3 concepts there. The word decline is a concept that shows that something is going down. If I just said employee productivity without mentioning decline, it doesn't actually connote anything to you in terms of decline. You just say that I'm studying employee productivity. But as soon as I put the word decline there, it tells you that there's a difference of what I'm studying. I'm studying what? Decline in employee productivity. So that triggers my mind. What are the things that could be issues or contributing to decline in employee productivity? Now, apart from the concept about decline, there's also the concept of employee. Who is an employee? And it's a concept of the other one being productivity. What do we consider to be productive? So you have got 3 concepts that are coming together to create a phenomenon called decline in employee productivity. Do we understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Azu, do you understand it? Azu, oh yeah, go on.
Yes, yes, yes. I understand it.
Please be awake.
I'm awake. It's just
I
I'm
don't.
switching between phones and then a laptop. That's right.
Oh, why don't you just open the tablet in front of you? Because you're not writing now, typing it in right now, and then you can read it. You can watch the screen.
Okay.
Because that's the one that we are speaking to in terms of voice.
Okay.
Yeah. So the phenomenon is linked directly or indirectly to a concept. Now, what is concept? Now, the concept, despite the phenomenon and the questions, better research focuses on the most relevant concept related to the phenomenon, which present questions which have better opportunity for novelty and originality. So this is a lot for you right now, but let's take it one at a time. When I say better research, means that the research that has opportunity of contributing to knowledge for you as an e-business researcher are the one that focuses on the most relevant concept related to the phenomenon. So let's go back to our phenomenon. We say our phenomenon is what? Decline in employee productivity. Is that what we said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
now,
sir.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now,
Yes.
let me ask Dorcas a question. Dorcas, decline in
Yes.
employee productivity. There are 3 concepts there. Which of them is the most relevant concept?
The most relevant, I would say, is the declination.
Good. Because that is what gives some direction what you are trying to study. Is that not it?
Yes, please.
Because if you just have the employee productivity, like somebody said, I'm studying data science. Somebody also said artificial intelligence. All these are very broad concepts. But what about this are you trying to study? So what sub theme are you trying to look at? What sub concept about you? What angle are you coming from? And that tells you that anytime you are choosing a concept, it's interesting, a phenomenon. It's good to have a phenomenon, but within the phenomenon, you should know which is the most relevant concept within the phenomenon to be able to address. Do you understand me?
Yes, Prof.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Prof.
So better research focuses on relevant concept, the most relevant concept related to the phenomenon, which presents questions. So the questions are then centered on what? The most relevant what? Concept. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Which have better opportunity for novelty and originality. So how do we identify the most relevant concept? The most relevant concept in a phenomenon is the one that has opportunity for originality and then novelty. It's not all the concept that, and it's not all the concepts in a phenomenon that will give you originality and novelty. When we say novelty, we can be seen as unique, and it is coming from you. It is your research that contributed that knowledge. When we say original, it means that there was nothing that has been there before you did the research. Even if it was there, it was not done in the perspective you are coming from. So you are bringing new knowledge or fresh knowledge, or you are extending the frontiers of knowledge. The concept about doctor of philosophy means that he has philosophized a new knowledge for us to be able to award him the degree of the PhD. So anytime you are thinking about your PhD, and you are reading about phenomenon within your PhD, ask yourself, the concepts in the phenomenon, which of them is the most relevant? Which of them has opportunity for me to be able to contribute something novel and something original? Do we understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Prof.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Somebody is asking a question.
Yes.
Okay, please, can you ask the question? You should have raised your hand so that I can stop, but I'm seeing that the question there. Okay, so what is the question? Can you read it out? Oh, it is just Texans. Okay, please, who has a question? Oh, you all thought it was a question. It was somebody who posted something in the chat room. But does anybody have a question?
Yes, sir, I do.
Who are you? Solomon.
Okay.
Yes,
Is
Prof.
that
This is
Solomon?
Solomon.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So Emmanuel is the one who talks. Okay, Emmanuel, go first. Then after that, Solomon.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof.
Yes,
So
sir.
I am wrestling a bit
Mhm.
with the difference between phenomenon and concepts.
Okay, don't worry. It's ahead of you.
Okay.
So we'll
All right.
get there.
Thank you very much.
And then what again?
Okay, Prof. So me too, my wrestle is between the real difference between novelty and originality. If you can throw a little bit more light on that.
They go hand in hand. So when you go to your
Okay.
Webster dictionary, look for the word novelty and then look for originality. Originality has to do with the fact that the work is original. Nobody has done it already. By being original does not mean that it's novel. Novel means that it is actually done in an intelligent way that actually contributes to knowledge, and it gives us something that is unique, and not just unique, it gives us something that is actually worthy of scientific rigor. So let me just explain something here. You know how we pound fufu?
Yes, Prof.
Good.
Yes.
The way we pound fufu is by using the pestle and then the bowl, and we pound it like that. Okay. Now people have bought the fufu machine where they pound fufu by they use a machine to do that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, it's a novelty. But is it original? Is it something that has not been done already? In terms of fufu making, it may be original, but in terms of the whole concept, blenders have been there already. So its originality is very, very limited. Do you understand?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand what I mean? Blenders are there already. Is it not a blender? Those who have seen them, it's a form of a blender. Is that not
Yes,
it?
sir.
Good.
Mm.
So he took the blender concept and extended it and got something novel out of it for fufu. By its originality, instead that the science behind is just a blender.
Yes.
I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, Prof.
Good. However, if I take a pressure cooker and I put a yam inside, and by regulating temperature and vapor in some way, by the time you fill, the thing has smashed. That can be very original and very novel. And in a sense that it may be there's no pounding this time, there's no mashing this time. I'm using air.
Yeah.
Good. So somebody is frying. I know you heard about the air fryer. Air fryer, they use air to fry chips so that oil will not be in it. Have you heard
Yeah.
about that?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Phillips has something like that. Now that's novel and original. So you always have to talk about originality has to do with what has it built upon. Is this starting from something new, very, very different? Is there a deviation from what existed already? But somebody can also have an innovative idea by just picking what exists and then putting it a different way and be innovative. But to tell you the truth, as we go on in the course of study throughout the semester and next semester, it will get better because there are different things that it has to satisfy to be able to be seen as knowledge. And I'm not reached there yet. And Prof. Fatu will teach you paradigms, and every knowledge is seen and defined, accepted at different scientific paradigms at different levels. What may be seen as knowledge for me may not. I'm a critical realist. Prof. Fatu is an interpretivist. They define knowledge differently. I define knowledge differently. So we all look at things in a different way. That's why I said I don't want to get into the, but I just wanted to give you an overview of what it is. But let's get into the Emmanuel's problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so concept theory method. Let's now get into Emmanuel's. So we in the first phase, we try to look at what the link between the two. Do you realize that from what we have done in the first phase, whenever you are studying, doing a research, you start from a phenomenon that you are trying to study, like the decline in productivity. Out of the phenomenon, you identify concepts. And out of the concept, you question the concept so that you can be able to become original. The question is what generates originality and then the novelty. The questioning that you have is what generates the novelty and originality. So, but if you don't identify the right concept to ask the questions on, I could have asked the questions on employee. I could have asked the question on productivity, but my question was on decline because at the end of the day, I thought that was what will create, will be able to give me some room for originality. But even that one, we have not reached the room for originality yet because when I decline in employee productivity, it has a better chance. But what makes it original? Maybe the theory I will use. What makes it original? Maybe the method I will use. What makes it original? Maybe the style in which I will even carry out my analysis. So I may even, and that is what we'll go deeper into it as we go on. I don't want to jump right now. But first of all, please understand that we have a phenomenon. Within a phenomenon, we have got concepts. And within the concepts, we have got questions. Or we can question a concept so that we can be able to undertake a research. Now, when we are carrying out the research, we actually start from concept, go to theory, and go to method. Because the concept is derived from what? The method. Derived from where? The phenomenon. So we said that better research focuses on the most relevant concept related to the phenomenon, which presents questions which have better opportunity for novelty and originality. The theory is in the abstract world. The theory tells us how does this phenomenon occur, or what are the constituent constructs. What is a construct? A construct is a concept that can be measured. So don't be worried too much about that. But let me explain something here. Whenever we are carrying out research, the first place we start from is by looking at the abstract world. In a theoretical sense, in the world right now, in the existing knowledge we have, how does this phenomenon occur? How can we theorize how the phenomenon occurs? Now, when we know how the phenomenon occurs in an abstract, in this abstract world, then we go and check by going to a real world to test, to ask questions, whether is it occurring the way the theory says it occurs, or checking whether there is more new ways it is occurring so that we can reform or refine the theory. So in the real world, how can we obtain data in order to explore and describe and explain and predict the occurrence of this phenomenon? That's what we do in method. Now somebody said that you are confusing me more. So let me come to something that you can you relate to something you can understand. Emmanuel, you are the one that I can use.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But Emmanuel, you have bought a piece of land before.
Yes.
Good. Now, when you were buying the land, how did you calculate the area of the land?
Actually, a surveyor came to do the site map and stuff. So
No, I'm not saying site material. How do you know your area of your land? Minus the surveyor. How do you know your area of your land?
so it's measured with let's assume a tape.
Yes, I know that's how you measure it by tape, but how do you calculate it?
I don't understand the question, sir.
Okay, you don't. As you have got land in Kumasi, how do you calculate your land? You say 70 by 100. How do you?
They'll say
Okay.
70 by 100 or 100 by 100 by 100.
Good. So what is the 70 by 100? That gives you what? The area of the land, an idea.
Yes.
Yes.
But what are they multiplying?
I think the length and the breadth.
The length of the breadth. Why are they multiplying the length? Why are they not doing pi r squared? Why are they not doing half base times height?
Because
Okay,
those
so
formulas
Prof, Prof, I think I'm trying to get what you are driving at. It's like there are fundamental theories regulating
No,
the concept.
don't jump there. We are going slowly, please.
Okay, I understand. But
So
there's a formula that calculates the area, right? And that
I
is
said, why
supposed
are
to
we
be
not
length
using
times breadth.
Solomon? I'm saying that why are we not using half by base times height? Why are you not using pi r squared?
So if I may, the reason why we are not using those is that those formulas cannot capture the information that we want about the land.
No.
But the length and breadth will capture adequately.
Why is the length and breadth better than the pi r squared?
That is how area is calculated.
Pi r squared is also area.
Okay. Given the nature of the land.
Yes.
What do you mean by nature of the land? You are all scientists.
It's a rectangular. It is a rectangular.
It is a rectangular. Good. What is a rectangle?
A four-sided figure where one side
a square. Good. A four-sided figure where one side is what?
Longer than the other.
Is it a real thing or is it in the abstract world?
It's
an abstract.
But the real thing is on the ground.
Thank you very much. So when you got to the ground, to calculate your land, you needed to look for what? An existing formula or theory that you can be able to look at the conditions of the land and map it to. When you looked at your land, you saw that it's almost roughly a four-sided figure. One is longer than the other. So you can't use a half base times height, which is for a triangle. You can't use what's the name? Pi r square, which is for a circle. So you then use what? Which is for
a rectangle.
I know what we are doing is area. What is it? It's for what? A rectangle.
Rectangle.
Yes.
Good. So do you realize what is happening here? Yes. For you to find your area, you went into the abstract world to take something, and then what you got is the theoretical area of your land. When you actually start building, you realize there's a tree somewhere. There's a place that the road will come in a little bit. You also see that there's water passing, so you have to go behind something. So your actual accessible land may be less than your theoretical land. And sometimes people even get more. Is that not true?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So this is what happens. Any researcher like you, like the quantity surveyor, goes to the real world with certain existing knowledge from the abstract world. And those knowledge itself is made up of a study of a phenomenon. In this case, the phenomenon that you are seeing in the abstract world is a rectangle. The construct of the rectangle is L and B. L is length. Length itself is the longer side. Is that not true?
Yes.
Yes, it is true.
And the length itself is coming from a concept. What is measurable? That's why we call it length. But the longer itself is more about the longer side of a rectangle. So the concepts are being multiplied together, which is coming by a relationship. So we have what we call a relationship between L and B. The relationship says that multiply, that he said find half of L and multiply by B. They said multiply L and B, and then you get what your area. So what theories do is that theories help us to be able to understand the world better. And it gives us a starting point to become a base that we can be able to know how to predict the world, explain the world, or explore the world. Before you can explore your area, you need to have a reference point. And your reference point came from what? Your rectangle and then your L, that is B. So you see what happens whenever you have a concept and you have questioned it very well, you will end up looking for the theory that can help you understand the concept in relation to the phenomenon of study. This one, the phenomenon of study is you want to find area of your land, but the area of your land has L times B. So the area itself has to draw on the two concepts. which are now constructs. You multiply them together out of a relationship, and that is the theory, and you get your area. So the outcome answer you are looking for has gone through a theory and has gone through a method, and it came from what? A concept. The theory itself relies on the concept. The method itself also relies on the theory. And then the outcome of the answer is what you get out of what you do in the method. So every researcher who is looking to find answers to questions should understand that the concept matters, but the concept will give you guidance on the question to ask. And then when you ask the question, it will help you to be able to know whether you can generate something novel or new. When you have established that, then you look for the right theory that can help you explain the questions or address the questions that are related to that concept or the phenomenon. Then you can get the right method to also address them. So they're all interrelated. That's why I say concept theory method. This concept theory method, you have to always keep it in mind. Some concepts don't go with certain theories. Some theories don't go with certain methods. Some methods go with certain theories. They go with certain concepts very, very well. So all this interrelationship matters whenever you're carrying out research. Can I continue so that I can answer Emmanuel's question? Emmanuel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Look at what is happening here.
Okay.
This is the trees. Trees is a concept. A tree is a thing you see in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say you're studying trees as your phenomenon, the phenomenon is made up of so many concepts. Depending on what you want to study, you can say you're studying about oxygen, that the tree uses oxygen. And when you start studying oxygen, because the tree provides oxygen, then by the time you realize you are talking about most living organisms. So the relationship will then be around living organisms and oxygen. If your idea is about shade, then you are going to talk about the tree and how broad it is in terms of its branches. Is that not it?
Yes.
Now good. If it's about paper, then at the end of the day, you are going to look at the produce we get out of trees. And then the paper then goes to notepad and go to books. Now, all the things you see underneath the tree are different concepts that constitute the tree. The one that is relevant to you is what you choose to do your research on. The tree is the phenomenon that is the tree is a real world phenomenon, but there's an aspect of the phenomenon you want to study. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so let me ask you a very simple question. You are in 2021.
Yes, sir.
You have got a diary.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the 2021 diary? Every year they give new diaries.
Yes, sir.
Good. That diary you have, what does it belong to here?
It belongs to the paper.
No. Before it belongs to paper, what does it belong?
Books.
A diary is a book.
Yes. Sorry,
A diary is
it's a notepad.
You see how your concepts are messed up? This is what happens in research. Some students choose the wrong concept and associate with the wrong concepts.
Yes.
So you have to understand that concepts can also be not those of you who have done programming before, can have relationships, and they can also be in the form of a hierarchy, and can also have a lateral relationship or a hierarchy, a vertical relationship. A concept can belong to other concept and be submerged into and subsumed by another concept. Do you understand what I'm trying to say now?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, when we talk about employee productivity, which I mentioned earlier, employee productivity can have different dimensions. It can have the decline part. It can have achieving or trying to maintain or appraising to make sure that you assess evaluation of the productivity. But when you evaluate the productivity, that is when you come out with what? Whether it is declining or it is rising. Is that not true?
Yes.
So before somebody can even talk about decline, that means that there should have been an evaluation to determine the decline. Is that not true?
Yeah.
But do you know that my study was not about evaluation. My study was more about decline.
Yeah.
Like what I said I wanted to do was more about decline. Do you realize what I'm saying?
Yes.
Good. So in carrying out my research on the decline, I'll end up reading evaluation of employee productivity literature. Is that not relevant? So that I can understand. If I want to understand diaries, I need to read about notepad. I may even need to understand paper, the type of paper that is used to make the notepad, or used to make the diary. Then I can and then I have to tell you what tree does it come from? Why is Ghana not producing diaries? We are bringing one from South Africa. So do you realize that depending on the question you are asking, you can either go deeper into other concepts, or you can even stay at just the surface.
sir.
So if somebody, Docas, if somebody comes and says that, why do people like diaries from government more than the diaries from the University of Ghana? This is the research you are looking for. Then what are you going to now assess? The design of the diary, the type of paper that was used to make the diary, the consistency of the diary, the content in the diary. So now you start looking at, even on this, from this screen, the paper that was used to make the diary is important. Where does that paper come from? Where do we get it? Is it available in Ghana? Where does it originate from in terms of it being a tree? How is it made? So anytime you are carrying out research, the concepts you have in mind can belong to other concepts, and they can be either directly linked or indirectly linked to the phenomenon of study. The most relevant concept that you choose should be able to generate, are the ones that you choose, that the most relevant concept is the one that gives you the relevant, the better opportunity of coming out with something novel and coming out with something original in terms of questioning. So don't go and choose a phenomenon of interest and choose an aspect of it that does not give you room for originality and novelty. The questions you are asking are not novel because the concepts you chose and the aspect you want to study is not interesting. Look at what is happening here. When I told you to talk around, and you got to Obed. Obed said he wanted to study artificial intelligence, but he went on to add that the ethics part of it. So there's a sub-theme or sub-concept he has chosen. Now he has to now be able to check down why is the concept about ethics more interesting to him. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Hello?
Yes.
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 Good.
Yes,
Somebody
we
say
are
he's doing
following.
data, but among all of you, somebody also say I'm doing data science. I'm thinking about data science. I'm thinking about artificial intelligence. I'm thinking about blockchain. All of them are three big concepts which are interrelated in each other in any way. He is at a very high level, abstract version of the concept, so much that it will be very difficult for him to find a novel area unless he start looking deep into each of them and understand the concept that they belong to and how they relate to each other. So whenever you are doing your research, know where you are starting from. What phenomenon are you interested in? What are the concepts in the phenomenon? The reason why we encourage you to go and we'll be encouraging you to go and do reading is to understand the concepts in the phenomenon. Please, just having a phenomenon in mind is not enough. Understand the concepts in the phenomenon. And sometimes the concepts, some of them are more interesting than the other. Some of them are more current than the other. Some of them are more relevant to Ghana than the other. Some of them are more situated to the US, but not situated to Ghana. Are you appreciating what I'm trying to teach?
Yes.
Very much.
Emmanuel, so do you understand what you are doing right now?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. So we will all have phenomenon that you have in mind. A phenomenon is just trying to say an occurrence that may be in society that you may want to study. So artificial intelligence used in organization is a phenomenon. I've taken the concept of artificial intelligence and I placed it within a context. Do you understand me? Usually a phenomenon can have a context to be able to give, or a domain. Artificial intelligence in healthcare. Healthcare is a domain or an industry. So I've said, okay, artificial intelligence in healthcare. So I've tried to come down a little bit. It's better than just saying artificial intelligence. Now, Azu said he's interested in big data analytics, but he didn't tell us the domain. Because big data can be, but he told us where he's working. He said he's working in education. So he could actually, I'm saying he could, I'm not saying he should do that. He could actually be interested in big data analytics on learning outcomes or learning analytics, which is about learning. Or he can also look at admission profiling and all those kind of stuff, but look at student data. So in order to maybe optimize a student information system for decision making, he's studying the analytics of it. He can also say that, okay, in my experience, I'm also an engineer. He said he has transport, so you may want to look at analytics in terms of engineering, transportation engineering. So please, sometimes you have got too much broad concepts in your mind. That is why you're finding it difficult to find something original to do, something novel. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. If you stay at the tree level, it's very, very, very broad. But if you start looking at what the tree can do, then you can start having areas of study. And who can benefit from the tree, or benefit from what it can do, you can have another area of study. So the tree can help us to generate oxygen, which is needed by most living organisms. I can do my study on living organisms in relation to trees. I can do my study on oxygen in relation to trees. I can do my study on shade. I can do my study on paper, relation to notepads, or I can do my study on paper, relation to trees. Or I can do my study on paper and books at the same time. Books and notepad at the same time in relation to trees. So are we okay?
Yes,
Yes.
Prof.
Okay.
Yes, Prof.
Cool. So let's continue. So now let's come home. A phenomenon now we have established. I'm teaching you how to be able to develop your mind critically. A phenomenon can have several combination of concepts. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
A phenomenon can have several combination of concepts. Is that true?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Prof.
Yeah, it's true.
Why? Because you can see it here. Can't you see it here?
Yes.
The tree, which is its occurrence in the real world. Like let's say a tree in the botanical gardens is a phenomenon we have. So you can have what? Oxygen, shade, paper. Then the use of the shade can be the recreational environment. Remember what is happening there. In case I said botanical garden, so the shade, the oxygen, people come there to breathe in better air. Paper may not be of relevant for a botanical garden. Do you realize?
Yes, sir.
Now, as soon as I put the tree
We can even talk of the fruits
good, that can give you food.
as a concept under trees. Yes.
Good. So in botanical gardens, we can use that one to serve people come there. When we harvest the fruits and you come there and there's apple, you can eat some of the apple. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? We can also use it for learning. We can use it to teach the type of trees. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
The only difference between that one I'm doing and this one is that one I've added trees in botanical garden. So I've made it a phenomenon in a given context that generates different concepts. Can you get it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Azu, help me.
Yes. Yes, please. I can get
Help me. Help me here. Big data analytics in Germany, automobile industry, Benz, and big data analytics in what's the name? Katanka. Would there be a big difference?
Very much so. Yes.
Because Benz has got a history of vehicles, a number of models which are different. They have been collecting data on their cars over years. Katanka is now beginning. I'm not saying that they don't collect data, but they are now beginning. So there will be a very big difference. Context has just changed the same topic.
Yes.
Now, if I go to China and I do big data analytics in the automobile industry in China, Chinese companies are now owning some of the US companies. Some of you know about that.
Yes.
Do you know about that? But let me give you something. You know that for a very long time, Tesla's car was the most sold electric car in China. Then the Chinese made a small version of like the Cube. You know that car called Cube? A small version of those small cars like Atos.
Yes.
They made their own version of an electronic car that was in that shape, and that was cheaper for the average Chinese, and it was also can go every place, park every place, and you don't need long hours of charging. With that one, they are doing mass production because it costs them less to produce that one than to produce one Tesla. And they are using that one to break the monopoly that Tesla was having in their own market by miniaturizing and do a small version of it. So if I go and talk about big data analytics in China, there's copying and then remaking and reshaping. You know how the Chinese business is. So the analysis can be trying to look at how do they iterate innovation. But if I take you to Germany, Germany is about originality. BMW original, Audi original. They don't like even it's just that nowadays they are sharing engines. But even if you are sharing engine, you have to belong to the same group. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that context matters in the type of where you study your phenomenon. Your phenomenon is always embedded can be embedded for a PhD, it's embedded in a context. So always think about the context and the domain that you are studying it from. Okay. So a phenomenon can have several combination of concepts. We agreed on that one. Concepts can generate several perspectives. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Look at it. Most living organisms, notepad, books. So many people needed by need. And here is what used to make. Here is about what we can make out. This one is about necessity. The other one is about necessity. So several perspectives. And then concepts can also generate several questions because of the different perspectives that they bring. Several questions. A measurable concept becomes a construct like length, breadth. Okay. So what then are theories? Theories are a general set of propositions. What is a proposition? A proposition is a relation between concepts. L times B is a relationship. So it's a proposal that to find area, multiply L times B. So a theory, the theorization of that is that a set of general proposition relationship between concepts which are used as principles for exploring, describing, explaining, and predicting apparent relationships in a phenomenon. Now, when you went to your land was in the physical world. Is that not true? The real world.
Yes.
Emmanuel and then Azul.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
To be able to generate the area, you needed to be able to look at the relationship between what the L times B and multiply. Is that not it?
Yes.
So what was apparent before you, your eye could see in the phenomenon was the fact that it looks like what? A rectangle. So you went then back to the theoretical world to find out what does a rectangle area look like, L times B, and came back to the physical world and multiply it. So the theory helped you to explore or describe or explain or predict the potential area of your land. True or false?
True.
Okay.
True, sir.
But doesn't mean that you always work that way. As I mentioned, that's the theoretical area. It doesn't mean that will be the real, it will happen in the real world. So in the real world, method is what? Data is collected through a process called method concerning the constructs in order to unearth the phenomenon. So when somebody says, what is your methodology? He's asking that, what is the process that you're going to collect data to understand the constructs and the relationship, to explore the construct in the relationship so that we can better understand the phenomenon. Why is it that a first-term president finds it very difficult to get another election? If that is your research question, you need to go to the field and still look at it. You need to study past data of how many presidents didn't get at the second node. Then be able to do some analysis around it. So your method is just is a process of collecting data concerning constructs in order to unearth, explore, describe, explain, and predict the phenomenon. This process leads to answers to the research questions. So can you understand what is happening here? We have a phenomenon. Embedded in the phenomenon are concepts. Out of the concept, we generate the most relevant, we see the most relevant concept, which can give us better questions, that can give us novelty and then originality. Then we look for theories to be able to understand the concept so that we can explain the phenomenon theoretically. Then we go into the field to test it and see whether it's possible, or to explore to see whether it's possible, or to try to understand whether it even relates with the theory. Sometimes the theory you have cannot explain the phenomenon well in the real world, so you may drop it or you may modify it, and that is where you bring your contribution, and that is your PhD. So you see how you have finished your PhD. Now, part of what I try to do in my class is to demystify the PhD so that you have it as ease, that it's not anything strange. The most important thing is that I need to understand my phenomenon, I need to understand my domain, I need to understand my context so that I can relate the right concepts and understand the right theory or theories and understand the right methods, and I can get my answer and I finish. The problem with many of the students is that they still keep on sitting on, they choose a weak concept, go with the theory and realize that they are not very novel or original, and they come back again. So the concept part of the phenomenon is not chosen well. Sometimes the phenomenon is not chosen well. So you spend 2 years trying to understand the phenomenon and the concept. I'm trying to help you to stop that. Don't spend 2 years trying to understand phenomenon concept. Try to know what you're looking for. It's not everything that is very contemporary that is ready for you to study. It's contemporary, but Ghana doesn't have much data on it. So the domain, the context will fail you. Remember what I told you about data analytics in Katanka and data analytics in where? Benz. Big difference in terms of research. Big difference in terms of research. Big difference. The insights will be very different. Why? Because of the existence of data. If you go to the field and you don't get your data, it's either your concept is too novel, it's too new, and that the world itself has not, the context has not experienced it, so you can't collect data on it. Let me ask a question. All of you seated here, how many of you are wearing a smartwatch? Who is wearing a smartwatch? If you're wearing a smartwatch, let me know. Mention, say, I'm wearing one. Somebody say, what is a smartwatch? So nobody's wearing a smartwatch. Okay, so if Obed wanted to do a study on the ethics of using smartwatch for cheating an examination, evidence from PhD students, he has failed. There's no where are the PhD students don't even use smartwatch. Why? Because maybe the PhD students, the age group is very different. If he went to undergrad, year 2, year 1, he may get it. The context was the wrong thing that he did. Let's continue. So we do research, the research process, the search and research again. The search process never ends. Why? Questions show up each day. New concepts are developed each day. Theories are challenged and methods are sometimes inconclusive. Humans push the limits of what is known and we want more. Because we want more, we want to understand more, we want to understand better. We always challenge what exists, and that leads us to asking new questions. That leads us to doing a lot of these things. And that is why we find ourselves in that kind of challenge. So the search process will never end. The questions will come out each day, a new concept will develop. That is why there's always room for you to do a PhD. The fact that new questions are coming up each day does not mean that they're all PhD worthy. It's not every question that is PhD worthy. Some of them are just masters or MPhil worthy. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so does everybody understand what we have done so far?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yes, Prof.
Those of you who are sleeping, is there any question? Is there any question?
Yes,
Okay,
Prof, I have a
no-
question.
Okay.
So, in regards to the last part of what we just spoke about, in terms of how the concept relates to a theory and relates to a method, and how it is possible that you would have a phenomenon you want to study, but because of the context, you may not have enough data to study it. Does it kind of imply that in choosing our topics, we should look carefully at our context or the available context around us and select our topics from it? Because
If
if
you have
maybe
if you have money to go and collect data from US and Nigeria, that one then you don't have problem. But if you don't have money or you don't have existing data that somebody has collected already for you, that becomes a very, very important thing. We call it a bird's eye view. When you choose a topic or a concept out of a phenomenon you want to study, always have a bird's eye view on the real world. How mature is this concept and phenomenon? In fact, I'll say phenomenon because at that time you're going to a real world to examine it. You may not see it as a concept, you see it as a phenomenon. How mature is this phenomenon in the country? Wearing smartwatches is a phenomenon. It's a new thing that has come up. But the wearing of it and who wears it is where you find different concepts inside. Somewhere for prestige, somewhere to show off, somewhere it as for the fitness. So this in terms of use, that's one side. Then what type do you buy? What brand do you buy? That's then as another style. Then there's so many things that concept. So there's a brand concept, there's a purpose concept, there is even the fitting. Some like large screens, some like small screens. So that the form factor too is as a concept is also there. So I'm telling but you as a information system researcher, which is matters to you, which of them matters to you? Maybe the adoption of it is what matters to you. The brand part will matter to a marketer, but not matter to an information system.
Yes, bro.
You see how, guys, are you see how the theory, lady and guys, are you see how the context and the discipline you belong to also shapes the type of questions you can ask?
Yes.
Yes, Prof.
Well, if you don't take care, you spend your study, you spend your time asking questions on brand. Somebody asks you a question, are you a marketer? Okay. Now, so going back to our information system pyramid, what we know information system in an organization is a formal and sometimes informal socio-technical organization system designed to collect, process, and store and distribute information, and also aid in decision making. It is socio-technical because it consists of tasks, people, structure, and technology. These things come together to be able to shape what we call an information system. Others say that it is IT, people, process, policy, and so those are the four. So, but this one, the definition we are using here is from Loudon and Loudon, and it talks about tax, people, structure, and technology, which is not wrong. It's also a perspective. from the vertical, or look at it from uh, the type of person who is using the system, or who is the target audience. We can have within an organization this hierarchy of use, or different type of systems. You have got the transaction processing system used by workers. Transaction processing systems are like the one that you see when you go to Maximat and you are buying something, or you go to ShopRite, you are buying something, or game. The one that you see at the till is very transaction oriented. It will tell how much did you buy, how much did you give us, or how many did you, they'll count the number of items, and to just be able to generate a very small report. And very system is very, very repetitive. Anybody that comes gets the same type of report. So that's more of a transaction processing system, basic reporting. Then you go to management information system. When a person puts down a report together, okay, I want to know game in Accra Mall. What did we make? What was the best selling product at the end of today? What did we? Where are the gaps? How do we do refill? Who should we order to trigger an order so that you can bring and just in time delivery of the products for the next day or for the next 2 days. So that one has to do managing for operational efficiency. So that one has to do with the managerial information or management information system. Then you go to the decision support system, the one that enhance decision making, that may have some analytics behind it. And then the ones that has executive information system, that one will not have just analytics. It's to go beyond to even look at judgment. For example, the analytics can tell you that every year your sale of Coca-Cola increases by 5% around Christmas. Now, this is an election year. What should you do? Now, the judgment of the executive then comes in. Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I go and see the politician to see whether I can still bring products to their office? Something like that. So you bring the executive information system. You are dealing with so many things. That goes beyond just the technology, but people's intuition, people's guts, and everything comes into it, and trying to make the right decisions for the organization. So you have got these in terms of the hierarchy. These are the types of systems you may have. Now, it doesn't mean that it's exhaustive, but what is the most important common concepts you see in information systems research, and that leads to a phenomenon. Now, there's something we call the information systems cycle that talks about what the cycle in which an information system goes through before it is finished its development. It may start from the need and go to the design and go to the development, go to adoption, go to training and institutionalization, which is all part of implementation, and then end up being implemented. But I just want to make a point that the steps that I just mentioned may not necessarily follow the same order for different type of authors or different type of academics. Depending on the research that you are doing or the system you are dealing with, you may have different things in it. And that's why I try to develop this IS concepts and phenomenon, common and emerging themes. So the need is that the need for our information system. Why do we need an information system? Could be something that somebody can study. But the need also can be informed by the domain. I can need an information system, but I need it in the healthcare sector. So the domain too matters in terms of information systems research. Then the design. Now you have established the need, you have to design. So you design to fit the domain and to respond to the need. You design to fit the domain and to respond to the need. You design to fit the domain and to respond to the need. I hope you understand what I said. Then go to development. Development is when the actual thing is being developed and then deployed for use. And the outcome of that particular thing that you are trying to develop, then it becomes the IT artifact as an outcome. So do you develop something, it has to have an output. The output may be an IT artifact. It's not all outputs, outputs that are physical. Some of the outputs are more electronic. For example, music. The output of a music is MP3 file. It is electronic. So if you produce it, it will come out as electronic format. You then have to copy it to CD to make it a physical, put it on a physical device. Then, so the output of an IT process can be something much more virtual or for something more digitized. They have got deployment. When we deploy whatever we have developed, and we also have got investment. Sometimes systems are developed in 2 ways and deployed in 2 ways. That somebody buys the system and then from outside and comes to install it within an organization, or he let them develop from scratch for him. Whatever method you use, there's a form of investment from the organization, whether you are investing with your own, investing through a partnership, or buying a software and telling people to come and install for you. There's so many approaches to this one in particular. And people also want to know the return on their investment. Then you have got acquisition. Acquisition is how we acquire the thing to become a member or to become part of our inventory or part of the information systems inventory within a particular um, 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 organization. So you may end up acquiring it and bringing it in the organization. But what method did you use to acquire? So some people do their studies on acquisition of information systems. Others do their study on adoption. That's very common. And diffusion. Diffusion is when you're actually diffusing to society. Adoption is much more when an individual make a choice to be able to consider to use the system. So when somebody is at the considering stage, he may end up abandoning it, and then adoption, institutionalization didn't take place, or abandoning it because he got an idea about it, he liked it, but he didn't have a good response to it, so he abandons it. So adoption may not necessarily mean that the person will use it forever. People may leave it with time, depending on what the outcome is. So I've got adoption, I've got diffusion, I've got implementation. When you implement something for an organization to come and use, and then you've got what we call training. After you have implemented, you have to train users to come and use it. Some people do their studies on training. And some others do their study by combining. Somebody also does it by in terms of sharing with that's said by studying, just not training, but studying how trainers come in and sometimes they share their knowledge and the knowledge sharing process. How do you train people who are born before the computer age, meaning that they have no knowledge about computer? And how do you train people who are MDs and who are at the senior management? And how do you train people who are the junior management? So there could be so many things about training here. What type of training? Virtual training can even come in. All these are possible research areas that people could research on. Some also study use of the information system, how it is used, the differences in use. And use can even be outside the organization. An organization, I can look at usage, adoption and usage by consumers of the organization, consumers of the organization's products and services. So I can even compare the different types of user groups. Those who are generation Y against those who are generation Z. I've developed a phone. I want to see the differences in their usage and patronage for the phone. So that could come from use. Then I can go to support. Support is about the services that you give to you to enable a person to do what he's supposed to do. So support exists. Sometimes people study support, tech support, customer service support. They do this, and to what extent is technology changing it? Some people also study security of a system, so that it's not hacked. It's not a person doesn't lose the data, and privacy and issues and privacy issues and confidential issues are actually respected. So security comes in, and then there's policy. Policy has to do with what policy governs what policy or governing mechanisms are made to support the system that we have developed. So governing mechanism may exist, or policy mechanisms may exist to be able to support a system that I've developed. Then you have got alignment. After we have got a system developed or a technology developed, we have to align it with the strategy of the business. If bringing technology into a business does not mean that to generate money for the business. It has to be aligned to or aligned to the business strategy, the business value, the business chain of work, so that a person can be able to gain much more business value from that particular resource that he has developed as an information system. Then strategy. What strategy are you going to build around it? How does it compete with the existing strategy? These are things that can come up in research. And then impact. How does it impact on people who are using it? What type of impact does it have? Is it in mobiles and research? One thing I've seen that type of impact is tend to differ. You have got different types of impact, like production impact or production effects, relation, and then you have got informational impact, and then we have also got transformational impact, or incremental and transformational. I'll show them in papers with you later, but I'm just trying to show that somebody can do a study on impact. Then you also have institutionalization. One of my PhD did a study on e-learning institutionalization in Ghana, looking at 3 universities, how they institutionalize e-learning. Institutionalization is when the thing goes beyond becoming a technology, become part of the process of the organization or institution. So that is part of institutionalization. And sometimes the institutionalization has so many hurdles that has to be addressed. And we'll talk about that later. Then you also have a continuance. Somebody who choose to continue to use a system and may not abandon it. So continuous could exist. Then you also have evaluation. As you're using a system, we end up coming to do evaluation of whatever you are doing, evaluation. Then you have got resistance and abandonment. Not everybody who like this, who like the and not everybody who like the system you have developed or the software you have developed. So sometimes you have to study the resistance and abandonment, so you can be able to know how, if a particular technology has been developed and people keep on abandoning it, they don't use it, then it becomes obsolete and it's not of use to the institution anymore or to the client anymore. They have got reporting and successes. Reporting has to do with the analytics you can do to support whatever you are trying to carry out the research in. So healthcare analytics, HR analytics, so many dimensions of analytics that you can be able to explore. Then you have got success. Success has to do with if the thing comes out and it's successful, what kind of benefit do we get? What kind of benefit do we get? So that one could also exist as another thing that could come up. For example, sometimes when people do research, they may come up with something you call partial success. Not everybody was happy about the success, or not everything was achieved. They also have got full success. So you have got different types of success that could sorry. You have got different types of success that could Oh, I think I jumped. I went to session 2. Okay. So you have got success and then, but please let me pause here. The things are plenty here. Let me just ask. I'm not saying that this is what you will do. So let me ask randomly. Someone like Dorcas, which of them are your interest areas? It's not limited to this, but I think that this is well spelled out. Which of them is your interest area? Not in terms of the technology. Policy, good.
Yeah.
You see, so that means that you are going to read on papers on IT policy, or
Yes.
if you chose a domain of the type of technology being e-business, they have to read the e-business policy. If your type of technology is on e-procurement, you have to read on e-procurement policy. So please also know the type of technology. I didn't even put that one in. The type of technology you are referring to, the type. Then there's also the domain, at where, which field you are looking into. Okay. Azu, what about you? After looking at this, any new ideas to refer you?
I'm looking at adoption and reporting.
Adoption and reporting. Okay. Is it adoption of reporting or adoption and reporting? Those are two different things. And reporting. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. What about Gilbert?
Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, there's some background noise around my neighborhood right now, so kindly bear with me. But I am still not made up in terms of the direction, but giving your explanation from beginning, where a broad concept needs to be identified, the phenomenon first, followed by the concept, then you break it down to the direction that will give you the most relevant questions. I think I'm going to apply this rigorously to come up with an area of interest to pursue.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's a very good point. He summarized by saying that you start from the big concept and you narrow down to other concepts which are subset of the big concept, but you have to narrow down to the one which is most relevant to give you the most novel questions, most original questions. Okay. So concept go to questions, and then they have to have a do. Okay.
Sorry. So concerning the last slide. Yes, my question was around the use portion. If you want to investigate how a technology can be used to achieve a certain impact, would the study be on the use or its impact? For instance, if the impact is, let's say, profit generation.
We can compare. You can combine two concepts.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Then. Thank you very much. Okay. So you look at it very carefully. This is what you see in many papers. People have concepts that lead to a question that you see in the introduction part of the paper. Then there's a domain that is specified. There's a theory that is selected, a method, a context, and then they come up with certain contributions and then future research directions. So whenever you're reading people's papers, look out for these items. What concepts is he talking about? What question is he asking? What domain is he coming from? What theory is he contributing to or challenging? What method is he using? And then what context, what continental, what contribution, sorry, and what future research directions. Now, in terms of your research, you use a matrix of things. Somebody can, and then each of them can have new questions or old questions. So somebody can pick a concept which is new and take it to an old domain and then use a new theory and use a new method. So you see how you can go like this. He picked up an old concept, give it new questions by going to a new domain, choosing, sorry, and still choosing an old method or a new method, and then can go on with an old context. And the context that's already known, you have some data on it concerning that one already, and then you do the rest. So you have this particular map that is able to help you to think through the opportunities that could exist for you. Are we good?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Now, so let's look at examples. I don't think because of time we can look at all of them, but these are papers that we have. This is Boateng, mobile and micro trading. This is institutional effects on e-payments. This is electronic commerce, and that one's gamification. Okay. So what I'll do is that I'll pick one of them, and then let us look at okay. Okay. So here. So I'm just using this one as an example. We can do others later. Can you see it now? Or I should zoom a little bit.
You can see.
We can zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So let's look at the title. The title says that. Oh, okay. Mobiles and micro trading. And let me just come down a little bit. Mobiles and micro trading activities, conceptualizing the link. So look at it. This is their own summary. Sometimes you may see summaries written like this. Sometimes you may see it written as one big paragraph. But whichever it is, what I expect you to do in terms of your first assignment is to pick the headings I give you and then do simple summaries like this. What is the purpose of the study? What is the design approach is using? So look at it. The purpose of the study is to investigate the impact of mobile phones on micro trading activities in Ghana. So you can look at it in terms of impact is one of the aspect of the concept that he's more interested in. He's using mobile phones, but the domain is where? The domain is micro trading. The domain is trading, a subset of it is micro trading. So you look at the micro trading activities of traders in Ghana, and then he's looking at investigate. Okay. Then the study aims to develop a conceptual model analyzing the impact of mobile phones on pre-trade, during trade and post. So this is the IT artifact or outcome of the study. The outcome will be more of a model. That's what he says he's going to do. The outcome will be more of a model. Okay, so it tells you that the originality lies in where the outcome that he's pointing out. Now look at originality and value. The conceptual framework, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, usually papers from Emerald, which is a database, the one that like categorizing like this. The conceptual framework extends the work of transaction cost theory. So you see, he's working on a theory. He's extending the theory called transaction cost theory in the information system and may inform future research in mobiles and micro trading. So he took the transaction cost theory in information system and did his research on it. And he says that the research that he had, the findings he has shared here, and the conceptual framework he has developed will extend the work in what transaction cost theory, and even generate insights and generate inform future research in mobile phones and micro trading activities. Now, let me just point out something. By looking at mobile phones and micro trading activities of traders in Ghana, Which other study can you do without even thinking too much? Some of you can consider doing mobile phones and market mobile phones and taxi drivers, mobile phones and so many different groups, so that you can be able to understand that map out this whole adoption behavior thing, what is happening in that particular space. So the conceptual framework extends the work. The findings are given on, and then the limitations of the study is given, and then the practical implications are also given. So anytime you are doing a research, please, these things matter. I want you to do something more than this by looking at the concept and more than and going beyond the concept. Now let's look at another one. I want to take something from Prof. So this is a
Sorry,
paper.
sir.
Yes, please.
Sorry, Prof. Yes, please. I have a question. Please, you say you want us to do something more than this. I didn't get that part very well.
This
In terms
person's
of,
own is, I have my own headings I've given you.
okay.
Yeah, the one I give you in the assignment. I'll come to it
All
right
right,
now.
sir.
Okay,
All right, sir. Thank you.
good. So look at the first one. The abstract is quite small, but very good point. Yeah. The purpose of the study is to understand how regulative, normative, and cognitive institutions affect e-payment entrepreneurship in developing countries. Lack of e-payment technologies have been identified as a key constraint to the adoption and diffusion in the developing world. He's establishing why what he's doing is important. The availability of e-payment technologies in the developed world provides opportunities for their transfer and to the adaptation of the developing and to the adaptation of adaptation in the developing world. Sorry. However, research on attempts by governments on e-business and entrepreneurs to provide such payment innovations in the developing world and possible institutional effects on the initiative remain limited. Now look at where the concept gap is coming from. You see, he's saying that the research on attempts by governments or e-business entrepreneurs to provide e-payment innovations in developing world and possible institutional effects on such initiatives remain unlimited. So what is he doing? He's trying to point out that his research is trying to address that issue. He's going to look at e-business entrepreneurs in terms of e-payment solutions and try to understand the possible institutional effects of it. The possible institutional effects on it. So if he's talking about institutional effects, then he's going to draw on the institutional theory, draw on interpretive case study methodology, the new institutional theory using new institutional theory as a lens. This study traces e-payment entrepreneurship attempt in a developing country context of Ghana. Now, do you realize where the interesting issues are? His more concern is about e-payment attempt by e-payment attempt within the Ghanaian context. E-payment attempt. So as an e-payment entrepreneur, what was the attempt that you put in to be able to develop your own venture like that? That's what he's trying to study. And he points out the study advises developing country e-business strategy entrepreneurs to understand their local institutional environment and not assume imported technologies will work the same way as in the developed world. So this is quite straightforward, and you can get some of the ideas here. But let me ask again. So here we have institutional effects on e-payment entrepreneurship in the developing world, enablers and constraints. So which of them is the phenomenon of study? In fact, the broader phenomenon you have here or concept you have here is e-payment entrepreneurship. The aspect he wants to try and look into is the institutional effects on e-payments. But if I put a different heading there, it could also affect the type of study that you are carrying out. Okay. So please, do you understand what I'm trying to do? I'm just looking at the abstracts you're using to measure, look at how novel the person's work is and new.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Please,
Okay.
can I ask a question?
Oh, you can ask a question.
Prof, so I am quite fascinated the way you are pointing out how we can frame such a research topic. But my worry is, if you're able to do something like this, will it be enough for a PhD, or you have to do more than what we are seeing in this paper?
The more about the PhD is about the theorization. So how do you do the theorization to establish the rigor? and the contribution that you bring in. That's why it's important to know what has been done already. Look, let me explain something to you. Supposing somebody wants to make a good proposal for something, he has to be able to point out that why he or she is better suited for the job or the position more than the others who have come before. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Good. So that's one of the reasons why, as a PhD student, you have to start early by looking at what you have, what has been done by your supervisors, and see where you can be able to model your work and build upon it, because that will give you strength to be able to carry on the journey. Do you understand me? So your novelty will come in later. I don't want you to rush into that. Your novelty and what you make it, whether it's PhD ready or to come in later, but start from the right process. Okay. Can I continue?
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, Prof, first on, we have looked at it. Okay. So I'm going to stop this one and go back to our slides. Okay, stop. New share. I have another class starting soon. Oh God. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's go back to what we're doing. So we have in here a test of understanding. So using the concept, theory, method, and method paradigm, critically review 3 empirical papers from 3 lecturers, 3 different lecturers in the department. You can use Google Scholar to learn about the scholarship of your lecturers in your department. And then your review should cover concept, question, domain, theory, method, context, contributions, and future research directions. Also, for each paper, develop 3 new questions for future research based on what our concept, theory, and method. Submission is in week 2. So what are we supposed to do? You write it out, concepts, what are the concepts in the paper? Let's start with the title of the paper, so we know the paper, what the paper is about, the authors of the paper. And then you go on to the concepts that were discussed, the questions that were discussed, the domain theory, the domain, and then the theory, the method, the context, the contributions, and then the future research directions. Okay, so that is it. Any questions about the?
Yes, Prof. I have a question, please.
Yes, please.
Please, do the papers have to be around a common thing, or they can be diverse papers?
For this particular assignment, it can be any paper that has been written by the lecturer.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
But it will count for you, so don't go and pick only low-hanging fruits and just do it anyhow.
All right, Prof.
Prof, please, can you pick more than 1 paper from a particular lecturer?
No, I want you to know your lecturers too. So that's why I was going to say that to be able to know your lecturers, you should go to scholar.google.com and then can type. Let's say that let me type. So it's
Hello, Prof.
Yes, it's profile has come. Can you see this?
Yes,
No, please.
yes, this is Paul. Yeah, yes, Prof. Please, I would want you to touch on the domain aspect again. I didn't catch that.
Domain is domain. Domain is domain. Healthcare is a domain.
Okay, Prof.
Education is a domain. Financial services is a domain. Mobile network, telecom industry is a domain.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Prof.
Yes.
With what Jabba said, I didn't get the clarification well. So if let's say I'm to pick maybe a paper from your list, one from Dr. Ifa and one from maybe Dr. Wumi. The theme, should it be like a unifying theme across
No, no, no,
all
no,
the
no,
papers?
no, no, no.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. Are we okay now?
That's Prof.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No problem.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, please.
Please, I want to find out whether there's a length requirement for this. Is there any length?
This is a simple one. So at least 1.5 pages for each of the papers. Very simple. Like you saw me, we're reading the Emerald one. Very simple. I just want you to go through the paper and understand the paper so that I can use it to be able to teach you how to be able to do review and other things.
Okay, Prof. Sorry,
Okay.
please. Also, one last
Okay,
question
thank you.
concerning the format. In which is there like a format we should follow, or is there a template?
Please, the Emerald. These are the headings you have. The Emerald one is the template for you to look at.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
The Emerald one, I don't want the Emerald headings. I want these headings.
All right, Prof.
Okay, for only 3 papers.
Okay, thank you.
So if you do 1.5 pages for each of them, you end up doing about 8 pages. Okay.
Sorry, Prof. One last question.
The submission
Yes.
will be submitted to me, but we'll have a class where you present it and I can give you feedback.
Okay, Prof. Via mail, submission via mail.
Yes, but I would advise that we put everything together before the class, before next week Friday.
Okay.
And then one of you, maybe Obed can submit it to me as a batch. I don't want it to get lost if it comes as individuals.
All right, Prof. Thank you.
Prof,
Yes.
so the question is like to critically review. And so in reviewing, we are allowed to also look at it in light with other papers too as well, other than just the papers we are choosing from our lectures.
The papers, I say I didn't understand the question, please. Can you repeat it?
So like in critically reviewing each of the papers, right? Let's say maybe we pick a paper from Dr. Ifa and Professor Ifa, whose own was about institutional effects of e-payment entrepreneurship. Now, in reviewing such a paper, are we allowed to also look at it in light with other papers that may have?
No. All you are doing is what we call I've forgotten the name, but you're just doing a simple quick review by breaking it down, kind of a summary of what is in the paper.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not doing that kind of review where you have to rewrite a whole section. No. That's why I say 1.5 pages. We're using these headings. Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
But at least make sure that your papers are relevant papers and good papers.
Okay.
Okay, so the digital business and e-business world, I can't finish that part, so I don't want to start it. But we are going to understand certain things about e-business research. Okay. So I'll arrange with Obed to see when we can do this one. It's supposed to be session 2, but we'll try and see if we can do it early. Mondays you have lectures.
Yes, sir. We have 2.
What time is the lecture?
I think there's one in the morning at 9:30, and there's another one around 3:30 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Prof, please, regarding the assignment, should it be lead authors or the person can be a co-author in?
Okay, that's a very good point. For now, I don't want to matter, but if it's lead, it's preferable.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
If it's lead, preferable. But I want empirical research papers, not we want empirical research papers, not what's the name? Not papers that are just literature reviews.
Okay,
Okay,
Prof.
Prof.
Okay, so we have to have the class, the other class that is hanging. So think about it and let's see when we'll do it. So that we can finish the slide, then you can, because you need to be able to move faster on what we are doing. Do you understand me?
Yes,
Hello?
Prof. Yes,
Yes,
Prof.
Prof.
I don't want you to wait till next week before we do that session. Okay.
Prof, please, if we can know when you will be free so that we can see if we can also have it fixed there.
Oh, this one is just a makeshift class, so we don't need to we don't need to try to I don't know how to explain it to you. Okay, let's see. Can you do tomorrow 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock early in the morning just to do 1 hour?
Tomorrow is not favorable for me.
I know. I know very much. Out of mommy. I know.
But
Okay.
Prof, on Tuesday,
On Tuesday,
Tuesday afternoon, is it possible?
my
Because
afternoons
we have
are
a class. Oh, okay.
afternoons are booked.
Um,
But Monday, you have a class
or
at
Tuesday early
9:30.
morning.
No, Monday I can do 8 o'clock to 9:30 before you go for your class.
Okay, okay.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
So remind me, Obed, Monday 8 o'clock. That is even good from us, so that you have enough time to come and give me feedback on what you started, in case you are struggling with it. Now let me show you what I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you something towards your term paper, the one that you're submitting in March. So the earlier I teach you, the better. So we look at the e-business world, then we'll go to the IS world. We'll try to understand what goes into the IS world, the different types of conferences, what to look out for and stuff. Then I present the group work that you're supposed to do. And then the paper you're supposed to write, so that all your assignments, you understand it within by Monday, so that you know how to structure your time for everything. Yeah. Do you understand me?
okay.
Do you understand
Yes,
me?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But let's
Yes, sir.
start
Thank you very much.
early. I think the challenge we had is that we didn't start early. That's why we so the logging off and logging on and all those kind of stuff. So let's
Yeah.
start early. Yeah.
Okay, Prof.
Okay.
And now you realize that you have to get a very good system to contribute. Otherwise, you will be left behind. Okay, thank you very much. I'll save the recording and make it available to you by Monday.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
All
sir.
Thank you
right.
very much.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.